Hey, my name is Josh Rosenthal from C-Level Insights, clevelinsights.com, and the DSB podcast on Apple Podcasts. Talking to you about how to solve urgent cash situations when your business isn't doing well. About half of the work that I do is working with businesses that are in a cash crunch. Hopefully they're not too far in so we can chart a way out. But how do you diagnose it? How do you know? Like before you can solve it, you have to be able to diagnose it. So we just spent 3 videos looking at the profit and loss, balance sheet, statement of cash flows, how to look on those and identify where the problem is. Once we know where it is, then we can fix it. A lot of times people start with the fixing of the problem, which makes no sense if we don't know exactly where the problem is. So now, for today's video, we're going to assume that the problem is related to your profit and loss and that your variable costs are out of order. The thing that gets most entrepreneurs, business owners in trouble is when they have a really successful business, they have a lot of revenue, they have so much that they don't have to watch their costs. And maybe they're a seasonal business and in the winter they make a ton of money. Summer rolls around and they're making half the top line and all of a sudden they see that all of their variable costs are completely out of order. Good revenue covers a multitude of sins. Low revenue forces you to get lean and understand them. So I want to take a look here at some things on your profit and loss that can be solved through better operations. To be clear, and I've talked about this in the Foundations playlist on my YouTube channel, you want to have the right people on the bus. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're a business owner, we looked at the E-Myth. You're an entrepreneur. You go, you grow things, you have ideas, you know how to build revenue, you can business development, all that sort of stuff, but you need a good manager behind you and you need a good person making the product. This operational solution here is entirely dependent on a good manager being around you. You can employ this as an entrepreneur, as a product person, but it's not going to be life-giving to you. It will be life-giving to a manager to come in and operate more leanly in a way that values the company, values cash flow, and values the employees. So you need to surround yourself with someone good like that. If they're not on the bus with you today, you need to jump in and take a look at some of these things and solve for them quickly and then go find that person. So if we're looking at profit and loss, and I'm going to just do it in an industry that I'm really well aware of how costs work, thanks to my friend Jamil. We're going to look at owning a bar. So let's say a bar does $1 million. Your variable costs, if it's just, let's say it's just a cocktail, but it's a mixture of cocktail, beer, draft beer, wine. Let's say you come in at, and just so I can do this math on the fly a little bit better, let's say your variable costs are 20%. And then fixed, it just is going to depend, but we also need to explore labor. Let's look at labor just to make things easier. This is actually a little high, 25% would be your labor target. And then fixed is a dollar amount, it's not a percentage. A percentage means it moves with the revenue. Fixed means it stays in a straight line no matter how much revenue you do. Let's say here we've got 100,000, and then we got 250,000. So let me even back up here, and let's call this our gross profit. We want to be able to talk about gross profit. This now is telling us, gross profit tells us how much money we have to operate our business, and the more lean we work with our gross profit, the more that comes out the bottom, so that gross profit number is helpful to us to know. So at this point, we're looking at a gross profit of 55% in here, which is $550,000. All right, so let's say here in this scenario that it costs us $250,000 in fixed cost. And even things like utilities fall under fixed cost. Even though they vary a little bit, we call them fixed because they don't vary with revenue. So if in the winter, maybe utilities go up a little bit in Utah, but that doesn't correlate with revenue by and large. So now we're looking at a net income of 550 minus 250. So we're looking at 300,000. This would be a fantastic business. I don't think we're going to hit 30%, but you get it for the illustration. We're probably going to hit more like a 20%. All right, so you have to know your industry before you can solve your cash issue through operations. If you're in a cash crunch, operations isn't your fastest fix because it takes a few weeks. You know, if you're going to run out of cash next week, it's not going to fix it, but that doesn't mean you don't pay attention to this and fix it. So let's say you have all of this going for you, same numbers, but you're at $1 million. Say you're not a great manager, so you're getting $300,000 up here in your variable or in your cost of goods. You're getting, say, your labor, which is where most people have problems. Entrepreneurs are usually like bleeding heart, nice, sweet people in the small business world. So they're not good at cutting people's hours or terminating when it's necessary. And I get it. No judgment, just more observational. But let's say you're hitting $300,000 there as well. And then your fixed costs, $250. So now we're at 600, and then we're at 850, and so now we're at 150. And looking at that, we think, oh, that's awesome. That's a great profit. This is an example where so much revenue covers the multitude of sins. We know that it's possible to hit these numbers. You are hitting these numbers, and even though 150 is good, you're missing out on $150,000 because you can't operate your business like the average business. So what you have to do is you have to take a look at your variable cost and say, okay, why is the industry average spending 20% and I'm spending 30%? What am I doing? Do I need to negotiate with suppliers? How do I get that down? Do I need to compromise a little bit on my quality ethic of my product, which your quality ethic of your product will upset your product partner, but sometimes it's the difference between solvency and insolvency, being able to keep your doors open and not. So sometimes you have to compromise on your quality ethic to keep the doors open. Then beyond that, you have to learn how to cut people's hours. You absolutely have to, because the alternative is that you go bankrupt. Say that you don't cut hours because you don't want to hurt somebody's feelings or put them in a bind. All that means, especially in our economy right now, is that they become unemployed. If you have to let them go, they become unemployed. They have a new job in the next week, depending on their industry. Not always, and I'm not saying that you don't care about them, but if you don't cut their salary, you're in bankruptcy for 7 years. So you can even cut their hours, terminate their employment, and if you want to be the good guy or the good woman, then help them find another job. Use your network to get them a new job, if you can. In this economy, it feels possible. But the difference is a few weeks of unemployment versus bankruptcy, and you remaining in business is arguably better for them and for your economy and your neighborhood than you missing these targets. So this is an example of how better operations can help you build cash. Not always easy. It's actually very difficult at times to change your quality ethic, to cut labor, to terminate a layer of management, and you have to step in and take it. But these are the things that you have to do if you want to keep it open. And sometimes it's bigger than that. These are the things that you have to do in order to avoid bankruptcy. My name is Josh Rosenthal from C-Level Insights, clevelinsights.com. Comment below. Let me know what you've done operationally that's been difficult. See you next time.